The war machines towered over the barren expanse of Regis 4, their metallic forms gleaming under the dim light of the system's twin suns. The Valkyrie Empire's warbits stood in perfect rows, a mechanical army of cold precision. Each was equipped with plasma cannons capable of melting through starship hulls and reinforced with alloy armor that had withstood centuries of conflict. On their polished surfaces, faint scorch marks from past battles served as badges of their resilience. Regis 4 had been a secure outpost for the Valkyrie for decades, a vital hub for their supply routes. It was heavily fortified, with anti-orbital cannons, automated defense drones, and layers of warbits on constant patrol. The outpost had never fallen, not even when rival empires launched full-scale invasions. It was unthinkable that anyone could breach it. But then the humans arrived. The initial sensor readings were perplexing. The Valkyrie detected no significant electromagnetic activity, no signature of incoming warships, and no indication of the powerful robotics expected of an invading force. Only a few dozen crewed shuttles descended through the atmosphere, their heat shields glowing like falling meteors. In the command bunker, Commander Zalith, a senior Valkyrie strategist, observed the data feed with a mix of confusion and amusement. Their technology is primitive, he chittered, his mandibles clicking in amusement. They bring no war machines, no drones. Are these Deathworlders truly so arrogant? Perhaps it is a decoy, suggested a subordinate, his antennae twitching nervously. Their organic forms cannot possibly survive direct combat against our warbits. Zalith waved off the concern. Let them come. If they wish to die so foolishly, who are we to deny them? The humans landed near the outer perimeter of the outpost, stepping onto the barren, rocky terrain in unison. The Valkyrie observed them from a distance, their advanced surveillance systems magnifying the scene in high definition. There were no war machines, no heavy artillery. The humans wore mismatched armor, much of it cobbled together from what appeared to be salvaged materials. Some carried rudimentary weapons, blades, clubs, and what looked like mining tools adapted for combat. Most bizarrely, some carried no weapons at all. Are they unarmed? Zalith mused, his crystalline eyes narrowing. Not unarmed, a junior officer replied, studying the footage closely. They're unconventional. Before Zalith could issue a command, the humans moved. The Valkyrie warbits, programmed to engage immediately upon detecting hostile motion, opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked across the landscape, carving deep trenches into the ground and reducing nearby rocks to molten slag. The humans, however, did not scatter or retreat. They advanced. The first wave of humans moved with startling speed, darting and weaving through the chaos. Their movements were fluid, almost animalistic, as they closed the distance between themselves and the warbits. Those carrying weapons struck first, a burly human wielding a hammer, likely intended for industrial purposes, smashed it into the chest plate of a warbot. Sparks flew as the armor buckled under the sheer force. Another human, armed with a makeshift spear, targeted the joints of a towering warbot, exploiting weak points in its design. The warbot staggered, its mobility compromised, before falling under a coordinated assault. The unarmed humans were perhaps the most astonishing. They attacked with a ferocity that defied reason. A lean figure leapt onto the back of a warbot, pried open a maintenance hatch, and began tearing out wires with their bare hands. Another human tackled a smaller drone, using brute strength to rip its arm-mounted cannon clean off and turn it against the other machines. The Valkyrie command bunker was in chaos. Impossible, Zalith screeched, slamming a clawed hand against the console. They're organics. They cannot overpower warbits. But the evidence was undeniable. The humans moved with a level of coordination and unpredictability that no algorithm could replicate. They fought not as individuals, but as a single, cohesive unit, each soldier instinctively filling gaps in their formation and adapting to the flow of battle. They're improvising, the junior officer murmured, all creeping into his voice. Our warbits can't adapt to this chaos. The tide of the battle shifted rapidly. The humans overwhelmed the outer defenses, systematically dismantling the warbits with a combination of cunning and raw physicality. The Valkyries' automated systems, designed to respond to conventional threats, faltered in the face of such unorthodox tactics. Within hours, the outer perimeter was littered with the smoking remains of warbits. The humans pressed onward, their ranks hardly diminished despite the overwhelming firepower they had faced. At the heart of the battlefield, a lone human stood atop a pile of shattered warbits, his armor smeared with oil and charred circuitry. His chest heaved with exertion, but his posture was defiant. He held a jagged piece of metal, a fragment torn from one of the destroyed warbits, in his hand like a makeshift blade. The other humans rallied around him, their voices rising in a guttural battle cry that echoed across the battlefield. It was not a sound of desperation, but of triumph, a primal roar that shook even the most stoic Valkyrie observers. Inside the command bunker, Zalith watched in stunned silence. His forces were in full retreat, their warbits either destroyed or too damaged to continue fighting. The humans had achieved what no species had accomplished in centuries. They had broken the Valkyrie war machine. As the humans advanced toward the command bunker, Zalith made a fateful decision. He activated the self-destruct sequence, unwilling to let the outpost fall into enemy hands. They may have won the battle, he hissed, his mandibles clattering with barely concealed rage. But they will not claim our technology. The bunker erupted in a brilliant explosion, sending a plume of debris and fire into the sky. The humans, now victorious, stood in the aftermath, their silhouettes framed by the fading light of the explosion. Later, when the surviving Valkyrie forces regrouped on a neighboring planet, the reports from Regis 4 were compiled and analyzed. The humans' actions defied every conventional understanding of warfare. They had succeeded not through superior technology, but through sheer determination, ingenuity, and an ability to adapt in ways no machine could. The term Deathworlder took on a new meaning among the Valkyrie. It was no longer a derogatory label, but a title spoken with a mix of fear and respect. The galaxy had underestimated humanity, and for the first time in centuries, the robotic armies that had dominated warfare faced a new kind of threat, one that could not be calculated, predicted, or contained. The Deathworlders had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same. The frozen expanse of chaos stretched endlessly under the light of its pale, dying sun. The planet was a hostile wasteland of ice and wind, with temperatures that could freeze most species solid within moments. But beneath its glacial surface lay vast deposits of tritium, a rare element crucial for advanced starship engines. Controlling chaos meant controlling the lifeblood of interstellar travel, and for decades, the Zixorian collective had done just that. The Zixorians were crystalline beings, their forms composed of intricate lattices of living silicon. They thrived in the cold and had transformed Kaelf into a fortress world, guarded by towering spires of reinforced alloy and legions of automated war machines. For centuries, they had fended off every incursion with ease. When the humans arrived, the Zixorians were prepared, or so they thought. Commander Virith, the overseer of Kael'thas defenses, stood within the crystalline command chamber of the planet's central citadel. The chamber was alive with the hum of energy as countless data streams converged into a holographic display of the planet's surface. The Deathworlders' approach, reported a subordinate, his voice resonating like the chime of distant bells. Their fleet is unimpressive, a cluster of outdated transport vessels. No warships, no drones. Virith's crystalline form pulsed with an iridescent glow, a sign of annoyance. Fools. They think they can breach our defenses with mere troop transports, deploy the perimeter drones, and send a battalion of warbits to intercept. This will be over before their boots touch the ice. The Zixorian forces mobilized with mechanical precision. Hundreds of drones launched from hidden silos, their sleek forms slicing through the icy winds. Ground-based warbits marched in perfect formation, their heavy treads leaving deep grooves in the frozen terrain. The humans, still descending toward the planet in their antiquated shuttles, seemed utterly outmatched. As the first human transports entered the atmosphere, the drones opened fire, sending streams of plasma streaking toward the descending ships. One transport took a direct hit, spiraling out of control before crashing into a jagged ice field. But the others continued. When the remaining shuttles landed, the humans emerged into the icy wasteland. The Zixorian drones moved in, their targeting systems locking onto the intruders. Plasma beams rained down, carving glowing craters into the ice. Yet, just as on Regis 4, the humans did not flee. They did not even hesitate. The first wave of humans moved like predators, low and fast, using the uneven terrain to their advantage. They wore crude thermal armor, clearly ill-suited for Kael'thas's deadly temperatures, but they seemed unaffected. Some carried flamethrowers, their jets of fire creating fleeting pockets of warmth in the frozen air. Others wielded mining equipment, thermal drills and plasma cutters repurposed as weapons. The drones, programmed to prioritize heavily armed targets, struggled to adapt. Humans with melee weapons closed the distance, smashing drones out of the air with blinding speed. Others used grappling hooks to pull the flying machines down, disabling them with improvised explosives. The ground-based warbits fared no better. The humans moved unpredictably, exploiting every gap and weakness in the Zixorian formations. They attacked in small groups, each unit operating independently, but with an uncanny synchronicity. One team would draw a warbit's fire, while another circled around to disable its power core. And then there was a cold. The Zixorian warbits, built to operate in sub-zero temperatures, were vulnerable to extreme heat. When humans set their flamethrowers on them, their joints seized and their circuits overloaded. The irony was not lost on the Zixorian observers. The very environment they had relied on for defense was now a liability. Inside the Citadel, Commander Virith watched the battle unfold with growing alarm. "How are they surviving in these conditions?" he demanded, his crystalline form glowing a deep, anxious red. "Our sensors indicate their armor offers minimal protection." "They are Deathworlders," his subordinate replied, his tone tinged with something approaching fear. "Their biology is anomalous. They generate their own heat, their metabolism resists frostbite, and their movements suggest a high degree of pain tolerance." Virith slammed a crystalline limb against the command console, sending a shower of sparks into the air. "No biology can overcome plasma fire. Send reinforcements to the eastern sector and activate the Citadel's external turrets. I want these vermin exterminated." The reinforcements deployed swiftly, but it was already too late. The humans had breached the outer defenses, carving a path toward the Citadel with relentless efficiency. Among the human forces, Captain Elena Voss led the charge. A veteran of countless battles, her reputation had grown legendary within human ranks. She carried no gun, only a thermal axe forged from salvaged starship components. The axe glowed orange-hot as she swung it, cleaving through a Zixorian warbot with terrifying ease. Behind her, a squad of humans followed, each armed with weapons adapted for the icy terrain. They moved like a pack of wolves, each member covering the others as they advanced. At the base of the Citadel, Voss raised her hand, signaling her team to halt. The humans took cover as the Citadel's external turrets activated, raining plasma fire down upon them. "Thermal charges," Voss barked. Two soldiers sprinted forward, carrying small devices glowing with a faint blue light. Under heavy fire, they planted the charges at the base of the nearest turret and retreated. The explosion that followed sent a shockwave rippling through the icy ground. The turret collapsed, its mangled remains sparking feebly. "Move!" Voss shouted, and the humans surged forward once more. Within the Citadel, Virith was out of options. His forces were overwhelmed, his warbits reduced to smoldering wreckage, and the humans were at the gates. "Activate the failsafe," he ordered, his voice brittle with desperation. The failsafe was a last-resort weapon, a massive energy pulse capable of freezing everything within a 10-kilometer radius. It would obliterate the humans, but it would also destroy the Citadel and its precious tritium reserves. As Virith reached for the activation panel, an explosion rocked the command chamber. The reinforced door crumpled inward, and through the smoke and debris stepped Captain Voss, her thermal axe blazing. Virith froze, his crystalline form dimming as the human approached. "You!" he hissed, his voice trembling. "You are monstrous." Voss stopped a meter away, her breath visible in the freezing air. "We're human," she said simply, "and we're here to end this." Before Virith could respond, Voss swung her axe. The crystalline commander shattered into a cascade of glittering fragments, his form reduced to lifeless shards. With Viritha's death, the Citadel fell. The remaining Zixorian forces surrendered, their automated systems deactivated by human engineers. Kael'th, the fortress world that had never known defeat, now belonged to the Deathworlders. As the humans established control over Kael'th, the rest of the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Reports of the battle spread quickly, detailing how the humans had fought in conditions that would have killed most species, using tactics no machine could predict. The Zixorian collective, once seen as an unshakable power, had been humbled, and humanity's reputation grew darker and more fearsome. The Deathworlders were no longer seen as anomalies. They were a force of nature, and the galaxy would never forget the lessons of Kael'th. Nexar Prime was the crown jewel of the neutral territories, a lush, Earth-like planet that served as a critical hub for interstellar trade. Its vast oceans teemed with exotic aquatic life. Its skies were perpetually streaked with the contrails of trading vessels, and its cities shimmered like jewels beneath twin moons. But its beauty was deceptive. Nexar Prime was a prize that neither the Valkyrie Empire nor the Gynexian Horde could resist. The war for Nexar Prime had dragged on for years, with both factions deploying endless waves of warbits to claim the planet. The once vibrant cities were reduced to rubble, and the skies were darkened by the smoke of battle. Yet, for all their efforts, neither side could gain the upper hand. It was into this deadlock that the humans arrived. General Tvoth of the Gynexian Horde stood within the command deck of her flagship, observing the planet through a massive viewport. Her serpentine body coiled tightly in frustration, her crimson eyes flickering with impatience. "The Valkyrie dig in deeper with every cycle," she hissed. "Their warbits fortify the eastern continent, and their orbital defenses are nearly impenetrable. We must break this stalemate." A subordinate, a smaller Gynexian with iridescent scales, hesitated before responding. "General, we have detected a new fleet entering the system. They bear the markings of the Deathworlders." Tvoth's coils tightened, and her claws tapped against the console in thought. "Humans," she mused. "Their interference grows tiresome. Deploy reconnaissance. I want to know their numbers and intentions." Meanwhile, the Valkyrie Empire's forces monitored the same development from their heavily fortified base on the planet's eastern continent. Commander Axel, a veteran of countless campaigns, observed the incoming human fleet with suspicion. A small fleet, no heavy artillery. The humans once again arrived underprepared. A junior officer, his mandibles clicking nervously, dared to interject. "Sir, the humans have a history of achieving the impossible. Raygis for Kael'th, their methods defy logic." Axel waved a claw dismissively. "Methods that rely on chaos and brute force cannot prevail against a fortress as fortified as this. They will fall here, as all organics do." The human fleet descended to Nexar Prime with little fanfare, bypassing the orbital conflict entirely. Their battered transport ships touched down in the western plains, an unclaimed no-man's land between the Valkyrie and Gynexian territories. The human commander, Colonel Ezra Drake, stood in the command tent, his sharp blue eyes scanning a holographic map of the planet. A scar ran down the side of his face, a reminder of battles hard fought and won. "Our intelligence suggests both sides are running on fumes," he said, his voice calm but resolute. Their warbits are numerous but poorly maintained. Their supply chains are stretched thin. We'll exploit that. A young officer, Lieutenant Mira Chun, frowned. Colonel, we're vastly outnumbered. Even if their machines are weakened, their firepower alone could wipe us out. Drake's lips curled into a faint smile. That's the beauty of it, Lieutenant. They're expecting us to fight their war, machines against machines. But we're not here to play by their rules. We'll fight like humans. Small teams, high mobility, surgical strikes. The room grew quiet as the weight of Drake's words settled over the soldiers. Then, one by one, they nodded. They had seen this strategy succeed before. The first human attack came at dawn. A team of 10 soldiers infiltrated a Valkyrie supply depot under the cover of darkness. Moving like shadows, they evaded the automated defenses and planted charges along key support structures. The resulting explosion lit up the horizon, leaving the Valkyrie scrambling to contain the damage. When a response team arrived, they found only destruction and a note scrawled on a piece of scrap metal. We're here. Deathworlders. Similar strikes followed over the next several days. Human teams hit Gynexian ammo dumps, sabotaged drone recharging stations, and even rerouted supply convoys to remote locations. The attacks were relentless and unpredictable, leaving both sides reeling. In the Valkyrie Command Center, Axel's patience wore thin. These pests are disrupting our operations. Why haven't our warbits neutralized them? The junior officer hesitated. Sir, the humans are not engaging directly. They are avoiding open combat, striking where we are weakest. The warbits are programmed for large-scale engagements, not this. Then reprogram them. Axel snarled, but it was not that simple. The warbits were powerful but rigid, designed to execute precise instructions. The humans, by contrast, were fluid, adaptive, and maddeningly resourceful. The Gynexian forces fared no better. General Tvath's attempts to track and intercept the humans were met with frustration at every turn. Her drones were outmaneuvered, her warbits lured into ambushes, and her supply lines severed. They fight like predators, Tvath muttered, her claws flexing in irritation. They do not attack, they hunt. The final confrontation came in the ruins of Nexar City, a sprawling metropolis that had once been the heart of the planet's trade network. Now, it was a maze of collapsed buildings and smoldering wreckage. The humans had lured the Gynexian and Valkyrie forces into the city, baiting them with false intel about a hidden human command center. Desperate for a decisive victory, both factions converged on the location, their warbits clashing in the narrow streets. Amid the chaos, the humans struck. Emerging from hidden positions, they targeted key command units and took out tactical drones, controlling entire platoons of warbits. With their central systems disabled, the warbits became disorganized and vulnerable. At the heart of the battle, Colonel Drake faced down a Gynexian assault unit, his team outnumbered 5-1. Using hit-and-run tactics, they dismantled the towering machines piece by piece, striking weak points with precision. In another sector, Lieutenant Chun led a team through the ruins, using the terrain to their advantage. They scaled crumbling buildings to drop thermal charges onto unsuspecting warbits below, the explosions echoing through the shattered city. By the time the sun set on Nexar Prime, the human forces stood victorious. The Gynexians and Valkyrie, their armies decimated and their morale shattered, retreated from the planet. The humans did not pursue. They had made their point. The battle for Nexar Prime became a turning point in the galaxy's history. The Deathworlders had not only claimed a vital strategic asset, but had also demonstrated the futility of relying solely on machines in warfare. In the aftermath, whispers spread among the galaxy's powers. The Deathworlders were not invincible, but they were something far more dangerous, unpredictable, relentless, and willing to fight for what they believed in. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's rulers began to reconsider their dependence on robotic armies. And in the shadows, humanity prepared for the battles yet to come.